Broadcasting from the Studio Clubhouse, Radio Free Radio, WRFR, Hampton, Virginia.
We've all got them. They get to say them into microphones. It's time for Shower Thoughts. Here's Sarah and Keith.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very last Shower Thoughts. Sad. I'm Sarah, and that's Keith. Does Keith Mike's work?
Check.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wait.
Can you hear me?
Yep. No, I'm good. Are you
Okay.
good?
Nah, I can't hear me, but all right, we'll go with it. Whatever.
All right. It is time for Shower Thoughts. This is our last one, folks. But don't be sad, because we realize that our awesome content here on Shower Thoughts was, pretty much very similar to what we were doing for Popped. So what Keith and Matt and Justin were doing for Popped. So instead of fractioning out all of our wonderful pop culture goodness, we are rolling it into a 2-hour bonanza starting in June.
And now we have a female voice on Popped.
That's right. Taking in
And
some
it'll be 2 hours. And
taco to the sausage party.
well, what sausage doesn't need a little taco, or vice versa?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Time to girly it up a little bit. Although I will say that I am entering a profoundly nerdy kingdom of which I know very little. So I will be the voice of like, hey, what are you guys talking
yeah,
about?
but you get to be educated on the deeper nerdy stuff that we really get into, and and you'll be able to provide a new perspective that those that are of us that are obsessed with this stuff and have been absorbing it for decades. You bring a new fresh perspective of like, you guys are idiots. You guys do realize that it's it's about this or that, and you'll break it down for us.
It's
I'm
just
sure.
movies, people. It's just
Yep.
video games. So to get you guys engaged, you can get with us tonight, 757-848-5920. Give us a call. Tweet us at ShowerBrains. Kind of last night for it.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep up with Popped, which we love and work very, very hard on, go to Facebook. It's Facebook/PopkedRFR.
Yep.
And then the tweeter for Popped is
Popped Show.
at Pop Show. So tonight, in the spirit of our blaze of glory show that it is being canceled and reabsorbed into some Tuesday night goodness, we are talking about TV shows that were canceled too soon. Womp womp. Now, I would like to say that recently there was a massive slaughter at the network level, and it was a bloodbath of
It really was.
it really was. Like I part of this is just me like waxing poetic because they took my favorite show,
Hey, they took one of my favorite shows too.
but
all
it
right?
really was a slaughter. Like, I'm talking about Nashville, you're talking about Castle.
Well, sure. Yeah, I was going to talk about Castle
The
too.
Muppets
sure.
are gone after one
Yeah.
season. And
Castle had 8 seasons though, so I'm not worried about that.
yeah,
Muppets,
Castle had 8 seasons. Muppets, they were not. They like came out of the gate really strong, and they had a lot of pre-show marketing, and then they kind of fell flat with a lot of the audience. And then they started to kind of get it back, but it was too late. And
But see, that's the thing that annoys me though. We had it's people. It's our well, I don't know if it's a money thing, if it's an attention thing, or what. But think about this. I mean, you recently saw all of Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Imagine if Parks and Rec had gotten canceled after the first season.
I didn't even watch the first season.
Exactly.
I mean,
That's the thing.
and
It was such a
even-
different show. But I mean, the first season was, while only 6 episodes, was great because it set up the characters, it set up a lot of the dynamics and some of the history. But from there on out, it was a totally different show.
Well, even 30 Rock, I wasn't nuts about, and I kept watching it, and then as I got into it and the characters came together, it was really strong.
Yep.
And The Office was basically
that's-
it was shot for shot of the British version, which is good, but they hadn't really developed that strong ensemble cast that
Right.
makes sitcoms so successful.
And that The Office is a good example. I watched 2 or 3 episodes and I was like, I'm
Yeah,
bored.
but see, they really did hit their stride. Now, in my opinion, and a lot of the opinion out there, they went on a little longer than they maybe should have.
Well, if we have some time, we can talk about shows that went on too long.
Right.
Castle being one of them.
But recently they took out Nashville. Agent Carter's done.
Agent Carter, I think,
that
had
lasted
promise.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, Agent, Peggy Carter is a great Marvel character.
She is, and she's a strong female character, which they don't really have a lot of in that whole universe, so to speak. And it kind of filled in a lot of the how did Shield get started. I mean, they've got Shield going, and it's 3 seasons strong right now, and they just finished their 3rd season. And I think we'll get a few more seasons out of it. There's even talks of like the Netflix and the movies finally tying in a little more than just like a nod here and there. Agent Carter provided a lot of good characters. It provided a lot of history, and it still kind of tied it in and gave us. It filled out the universe, I guess, is the best way to say it.
In my opinion and limited nerdiness in the Marvel universe, I'm going to say that Peggy Carter had a stronger connection bridge between the movies and TV.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
And I don't know why. Maybe I just liked her more. I mean, there's a lot.
Well, she was a direct connection to Steve Rogers.
Well, there's a lot of characters that go back and forth very nicely. Coulson was in movies and TV, and
yeah, but see, they brought Coulson back, and the Avengers all think he's dead now. Like Peggy Carter's death. Spoiler alert.
I mean,
wasn't
she's like 90.
She was. I know, but see, that's the thing, though. I mean, Peggy Carter, despite having her limited 2-season run, was in Captain America 1 as a main character.
Right.
Captain America 2 as a little fun cameo, and Captain America 3 as just like a subtle nod and kind of an ending of her character.
Right.
But that show really gave her a lot of chance to flush out her character, develop the relationships, give us S.H.I.E.L.D. history, which was kind of cool as well. And it gave us some of Howard Stark, Tony Stark's dad, and a lot of like the Jarvis stuff. And the guy who played Jarvis, James D'Arcy, I think his name was, brilliant. He was one of my favorite characters on that show.
Yeah. But yeah, Agent Carter's done.
Yep.
Castle's done, but you said it was time for that.
Well, one last thing on Agent Carter before we go too long on that one. I think they can bring it back. It was done in the miniseries style anyways, where it was a few episodes here and there in between seasons of other shows.
Now,
so I think they
here's
can
the
bring
thing.
it back.
Do you think the miniseries is still alive and well? Because I remember when we were younger, Lonesome Dove was like the tits. And my dad, you've never heard of Lonesome Dove? Maybe.
Never heard of
Oh my God. I must have watched Lonesome Dove 75 times in my childhood because my dad, it's like this whole big Western miniseries, right?
Okay.
There were a lot of, they did a Scarlett O'Hara miniseries of the name of which escapes me. Like, miniseries were the deal in the 90s.
Right.
And they were very popular.
Little House on the Prairie, was that a miniseries?
No, that
or
was
that
a series.
Okay.
But there were a lot of miniseries that were out there. And really long, TV movies that were broken up over, I think Anne of Green Gables, because it's 4 hours long. That was broken up over, I think 4 or 5 episodes.
I think miniseries are still alive and well.
Well, the thing is that, when they do the ratings book, they make such a big deal over these big splashy features, and they, do Peter Pan Live and all this baloney, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's stupid.
Right.
It's miniseries feel like they have a place in summer, but if it's successful, I feel like they want to beat it to death,
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of where Castle was. I mean, Castle went on for 8 seasons. It started out as a really fun show about, basically Nathan Fillion being Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
The Kate Beckett, played by Stania Katic, trying to figure out the death of her mother and it being a bigger conspiracy. And they drug out the romance, and they drug out the conspiracy stuff with her mom, and then made it even deeper and deeper, and it just so many levels of it. It eventually got a little silly. I kept watching it because of Nathan Fillion. He's always fun to watch, but at the same vein, it's it's no different than NCIS or
CSI.
CSI. What's
Law
the
and
one?
Order.
Law and Order. Thank you. That's the one.
SVU.
Yeah,
I watched me a lot of Law and Order.
But I mean, those shows go on for seasons and seasons,
Yeah.
and this is no different.
Well, no, I mean, the reason why those go on so long is because they're topical crime,
Yeah.
and they can draw from the headlines.
Right.
But what I noticed was on the cut list that probably should have been a while back. Girls on HBO. Did you ever watch that?
Nope.
Probably a good thing because you would not enjoy it.
Eh.
And honestly, I liked the first few seasons, but it got less and less relatable. And what's her name? Lena Dunham?
Yeah.
Is that it? She is getting less and less relatable too. And so much of the show, I mean, and at first it was this is great because it's this awakening kind of they're not coming of age, they're already adults, but they're like these whiny, bitchy hipster adults. And, you know, at first it was like, these are things that women go through. And then it's like, do women go through this? You know, like I feel.
Well, I mean, is the show going on too long at this point because it's trying to stay relevant and it really doesn't? It's told the story it's wanted to tell originally, and now it's because it was such a money grabber. It's continually going on, and they're just trying to find ways to continue the story.
No, here's what I think happened. I think that Lena Dunham got naked one too many times for publicity. And
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
People want to see her naked?
No, they don't, but she does it anyway.
Okay.
And Adam Driver is Kylo Ren.
Right.
And
Well, I'd rather see him naked than her naked. I'm going to throw that out there.
yeah, me too. But you'll see a lot more of her naked.
No thanks.
But and then the female, the other actresses were getting different gigs and different.
Teresa loves girls, by the way.
I liked it for the first 3 or 4 seasons. It was my treadmill show. It was a great show, but then I had to stop watching it at the treadmill because it was pretty graphic sex scenes and it was on my iPad. And I'm like, hi, person at LA. This is when I was in Atlanta. I was like, LA Fitness guy walking behind me and is already like weirdly into me on the elliptical. And now I'm like watching. I mean, it looks like porn if you're just glancing at it. But I mean, I liked Girls, but it's done after season 6, which is probably a good thing because, you know, it definitely it alienated certain audiences. But so these are the most recent shows that were canceled. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that no one ever heard of. And let's see what's on this list. Oh, Rush Hour. Didn't even know Rush Hour was a show. Apparently that's a show.
We had no
that
idea.
That got canceled.
The Popped, Matt, Justin, and I over on Popped had no idea it was even a show.
Yeah, got canceled.
And we're supposed to be in the know on pop culture.
Beauty and the Beast, which I thought was like an 80s show, but apparently it was a current show. And
it was a 90s
on,
show, I thought, wasn't it?
Well, either way, it's been on for 4 seasons and now it's done on the CW.
All right.
Telenovela, which I heard was pretty funny. It's got the chick from Desperate Housewives. Never saw it.
Longoria?
Yeah, that's done after 1 season.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
Undateable. 3rd year comedy. Didn't know it existed. CSI Cyber, which I
didn't know
can't
about that
imagine
one.
was
That
very
one,
interesting in the first place. That's
A
done.
bunch of people just typing on computers.
The Good Wife, which I only know because Mike and Molly's done. Melissa McCarthy, she's getting movies anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, Gallivant, I saw people whining about that,
Yeah.
but I never saw it. And they gave
It looked fun.
yeah, but it was one of those shows like they kind of set it up to not succeed because it was on like Fridays at
Yeah.
8. You know, and those shows.
Speaking of shows on Friday at 8 that did not make it, Firefly.
Yeah, and they did that to Arrested Development too.
Yeah,
They put it
that's
on
another one on my
Fridays,
list.
and it's just not going to make it. So now we're going to go back into well-loved shows that have had a recent.
Go back in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, and now these shows, I either caught at the end or have binged since, at the urging of a friend or boyfriend. And like Arrested Development was one of those. When I was on overnights, my friend Henry was like, you have to watch a show. You're going to love it. I just know your personality. You're going to love it. And I binged Arrested Development and I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I probably watched the full season, and then it was only 3 seasons. I watched the full run probably like 3 times back to back, which of course it was overnight. So I could knock out like 3 episodes in one night. And when it was over, I was sad.
See, Arrested Development has a special place in my heart because I didn't watch it when it was live, much like Firefly, but I came to love it after the fact because Mark suggested it to me. A buddy of mine named Mark Herring suggested it to me, and he was like, dude, you're going to love the show. It's about this dysfunctional family. And I watched it after it was off the air, but early enough that I was able to watch it on Hulu without commercials.
See, that's where I watched it too. Hulu without commercials. It was awesome.
But I was going through a lot of crap at the time with my family, and then I watched this show, and I was like, oh, my family isn't that bad after all.
You know what else I watched? And like, okay, so you got me into Heroes lately. We've been watching Heroes.
Yes.
And that was a show that had become a victim of the writer's strike. Also a victim of the writer's strike was Big Love, which
Okay.
I loved. It was Bill Paxton. It had Jennifer Goodwin in it and Chloe Sevigny, and who's the other one? Jean Triplehorn. And they were this polygamous family, and it was awesome. And it was like, you know, sexy and dramatic and like really weirdly fundamentalist, and I love that show. And then the writer's strike happened, and it really took it out. Now it did resume, but it was
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Did it actually cancel the show?
No,
or
it
did
came
actually,
back, but it was weak.
Because Heroes came back, and we're only on season 1 right now of Heroes for You.
Yeah.
But Heroes, up to the end of season 2, writer's strike, and they continued it for 2 more seasons. They shouldn't have.
See, a lot of shows, I think, fell victim to the writer's strike.
But we got Dr. Horrible sing-along blog out
We
of the
did get
writer's
Dr.
strike.
Horrible.
So, you know.
Yeah, but I missed it. Like I missed my shows, and that's when I watched Arrested Development, and that's when I caught up on Big Love and all that stuff. But it was, that I'm gonna say that even though they didn't get canceled because of it, I feel like they ended too soon. And speaking of Arrested Development star Portia de Rossi. Better Off Ted is on this list of shows that were canceled too soon.
Never got around to seeing it.
Neither did I. But I keep hearing how great she is in it and how great the show was. It was only on for 2 seasons, 2009, 2010. It was supposed to be one of the best comedies, and it just didn't make it.
I'm going to go even further back than any of that, and and if Matt wants to jump in on this one since he's sitting in with us here in the studio, Freaks and Geeks. I didn't watch it live. I ended up seeing it after the fact. It came out in 99 to 2000, so I wasn't paying attention at the time of when it was on air. I remember seeing it. I remember seeing the commercials for it. Just never got around to watching it. I was a busy kid, and then I don't know what was it like back then, and the fact that it didn't get renewed.
Like everybody in it went on to make big money.
Yeah.
And everyone
Nobody was hurting for sure.
I was that age when it came out, and everyone told me I look like what's her face,
Linda Cardinelli.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still get that.
Yeah.
I still get that, which is good.
Yeah. And now she was in Avengers too.
She's cute.
Still looking hot.
She's Velma.
That show was fantastic.
Yeah.
That show was relatable and endearing, and it wasn't overly sappy, but the writing was so good. And I actually it reminds me of being a kid in the early 80s, just the weird stuff that was happening.
Right.
Like Bill Murray and video games.
Well,
when it didn't get renewed, was there?
Well, did you ever see not the follow-up, but basically Judd Apatow's second attempt at a series, Undeclared?
I heard about it, but I never saw it.
Too.
Basically the same cast. He just took the same cast with the people that were any good from that cast and brought them over to college, modern day college.
Okay.
And again, it's
would you
only
say it was
12 episodes.
Would you say it was a spiritual sequel?
Oh God!
Kind of,
You're just.
but I don't use that word.
Please don't, because that's stupid.
You know what was a spiritual sequel?
Everybody wants some.
No, the Nice Guys.
Oh, was that good?
Fantastic. Oh, now we're off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Back to shows that have been canceled.
Well, check out Undeclared. Undeclared,
Okay.
just as good as Freaks and Geeks. It's only a half hour, and it's mostly a comedy, but it's fantastic. I'm a Judd Apatow geek anyway.
No, understandable.
So, I'll watch all 4 hours of each of his movies. In fact, I watched Knocked Up again this weekend.
All right.
I don't even think they go too long. I don't think they're long enough at 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Well, speaking of shows that were murdered because they were on Friday nights, I'm looking at a list right now that's got Ghost Whisperer on it with
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, and that was a Friday night show. And I remember seeing promos for that and thinking, "There's no way this show's going to succeed," because I'd see the previews on while I was getting ready to go out.
I don't know why anyone puts shows on Fridays anymore.
I mean, yeah, it's a sad situation. CSI Miami was killed, and
I've got another one.
What's that?
It's I made you watch it recently. Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Studio 60.
An Aaron Sorkin show. I loved it. It was great.
So
I
did
love his.
I.
I mean, if you watch enough of his stuff, you see a lot of repeats and just like little mannerisms and dialogue and stuff. But Studio 60, of all the Aaron Sorkin shows I've watched Sports Night, I've watched some of West Wing, haven't given it the full billion seasons it's got. I watched all 3 seasons of The Newsroom, enjoyed that. Matt's coming back in for this one. But Studio 60, it holds a dear part.
It was more fun than, not that I'm saying that those
I
other
like
shows aren't
Studio
great.
60.
Yeah.
And I love Aaron
It's my
Sorkin,
favorite one.
But it was more fun. It wasn't as heavy.
You know what I like about Studio 60? It wasn't Matthew Perry playing Chandler. Everything else he's in, he
Yeah.
plays Chandler. But in that show, he actually is, acting and I feel like stretching his legs a little bit. And it
Right.
makes me sad because that show didn't get very far. And I feel like he's been pigeonholed, as we know, which is the hole in the pigeon.
Yes, not the hole that
Not-
the pigeon goes into.
it's
It's
the
actually
hole-
the hole on the pigeon. It's his butt.
Yes, we learned about that.
I'll let you borrow Con Man.
Yeah, it's really good. But anyway, he's been pigeonholed into playing Chandler in everything that he plays.
Right.
And like every movie I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, because he went on after Studio 60 to do Mr. Sunshine, which was pretty much him playing Chandler, but like an angry Chandler.
Right. And every movie he's been in, he was in Fools Rush In with Salma Hayek. It was chick flick.
He was in Serving Sarah.
He played Chandler.
Yeah, he pretty much did. But we got to see Hot Ass Elizabeth Berkley and Bruce
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Are we
But-
on? Yeah. So here's another one that was on the list that I thought was interesting. I was a little young for it, but it was like the jam among the MTV crowd. My So-Called Life in the
Yeah,
90s.
I saw
That's
that
like the
coming.
mid-90s. I was, like I said, a little young because it was 94, 95, and I was only like 10 or 11 years old. So I was like desperately wanting to get it and be a teenager, but
it was like Claire Danes' high time, like her, her
yeah.
high period. So to
What is
speak.
she doing?
She did that and Romeo and Juliet, and then I don't know where she's been since then.
She's doing what?
Just on Homefront.
Homefront. She's
In
done.
fact, I think she got at least nominated, if not
She's
awarded an Emmy for
done.
that.
She got some like a People's Choice Award or Golden Globe or something for a special she did, an HBO special. I mean, she's getting work. She's doing good. Jared Leto's winning Oscars. So they're doing
Yeah,
well.
it's so weird.
But like that show really spoke to teens as well, and I always wonder why those shows get canceled because I don't know. Like you think there's some teen shows that just went on and on and on and on, like basically the whole TGIF lineup. Like why were we still watching Family Matters?
Hey, but it worked. I mean,
they
got
kept
them-
going with it.
Yeah.
And it was a Friday night thing, and that was actually kind of brilliant when you think about it.
Well, it was geared towards families staying in.
Right. Well,
And that's the thing. You got to
they-
have that programming that people are going to be going in. You can't have programming for the 20-somethings, the college kids, the older high schoolers, the 30s.
right. And they were trying to
people doing
get that
stuff.
like tween and early teen, and they're like, hey, have a fun night in, invite your
Yeah.
friends over. And we totally bought it. Like
Right.
I remember my girlfriends would come over and we'd have our little sleepovers and read our 17 magazines and take quizzes and watch TGIF.
Right.
And God, when was Saved by the Bell on? That was like a Saturday morning thing, wasn't it?
I remember seeing that on in the morning after the.
They tried a few primetime. I mean, they did some primetime specials, and
Didn't they do it in the afternoon sometime?
the college was primetime. No, they did. They syndicated and played replays for like
Okay, maybe that's-
15 years.
See, I know I was Saved by the Bell. I don't remember if I saw it live or in syndication because it was always on. That and Star Trek Next Generation.
always
Always going.
on. Okay. Here's another one that's kind of a dark horse, and I feel like I'm alone in loving it so much. And this, I think, maybe speaks to my love for Nashville. Did you ever watch Smash?
No, but I saw that on here
Okay,
on this list.
Smash.
See, all my shows are like sci-fi stuff. Like,
Okay.
I've got a few more here. That are
So
just,
Smash
that's super
had
nerdy.
Catherine McPhee, who was on one of the seasons of Idol that I watched. I only watched like 2 seasons of Idol, and she was on one of them. It had Megan Hilty, who is huge on Broadway. She played Glenda in Wicked. They're both fabulously talented. It has the chick from Will and Grace. What's her name? Chick from Will and Grace, the redheaded. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can't. And Megan Mullally, and I can't think of.
No,
her.
the other one. Anyway, it's got her. And Angelica Houston was in it, and there was just a really talented cast. The guy who played Will Chase, the guy who played Luke Wheeler on Nashville. Deborah Messing, that's it. It was brilliant. They had original music in it. They had they worked the musical numbers into the plot of the show. They didn't just like, hey, here's a musical number that we're rehearsing for the show. It was about a Broadway musical coming together, and I effing loved it. And when they canceled it, I was devastated because I wanted more for it. And it's the same way I feel about Nashville. And I get all sad. But I like the way they do that. Now, the problem with those shows is that they're expensive.
Yeah.
They require really high-priced writers and musicians and talent, and those are hard to do. Those are hard to sustain.
That's why Studio 60 got canned, because
Yeah.
it was on the same time as 30 Rock. They both came out the exact same time. They have the same basic principle. It's about, the behind the scenes of sketch comedy show, SNL basically. And Studio 60 was a little more serious, and 30 Rock was a lot more fun, a lot more goofy. Didn't really touch on the serious topics, but 30 Rock was easier to produce because of that.
Right.
Less elaborate sets, pretty easy gags. Studio 60 required different locations, the higher production value, and so unfortunately got the can after the one season. So
Yeah, which is depressing because
Yeah.
there's so much to be said about those shows, but they just go so quickly. Now, see, here's a list that's got Heroes on it.
yeah, I think Heroes was one of those shows that didn't get canceled soon enough.
Well, see, I'd be interested to say, I didn't look this up, but now I feel like I should, like shows that were a victim of the writer's strike. Now, here's one. Chuck almost got canceled a couple times, and didn't the fans save it?
The fans saved it, and I don't know. See, I love Chuck. I stuck with it all 5 seasons. I'm all right with the way it ended. We can add that to the list if you'd like. The problem with Chuck is they kept getting the jerk around, so it made it very difficult for a consistent season. NBC, I think it was season 3, you really started to notice it. Season 3, they ordered like 16 episodes. Well, the ratings and the fan response was doing really good, so they're like, oh, give us 6 more episodes to round it out to a nice 22 episode season. But they wrote the season for 16 episodes, so they wrote like filler episodes in, and it made the story kind of disjointed a little bit and kind of broken. I think overall, though, it was a fun show. I enjoyed it. I think 5 seasons was plenty. I just wish they hadn't gotten the jerk around so many times. I'm kind of, they actually had, people boycott brands or merchandise or whatever when they do certain things, like, the Target thing with the whole transgender bathroom thing is the first thing I could think of.
Wasn't there the subway
thing?
Yeah.
They actually, the fans got together for Chuck and coordinated a day where they all went to Subway to show their support of Jared touching little children and the show Chuck.
I feel like that Jared thing hadn't happened yet.
No, it was probably happening at the time, but yeah. They all got together. They all said, hey, we're going into Subway today to support the show, and that's why we're going in. We love the show. We want you guys to keep it. Please keep throwing money at it. And the best part is, it was similar to, I'm trying to think, Parks and Rec did it a little bit. 30 Rock did it pretty well. But Chuck was just blatant about the product placement. Like, Chuck would go in to see his boss. He's like, I'll talk to you after I'm done finish eating this Subway breakfast burrito that's delicious. But they made it so blatant.
Steering to the skid, man.
It was silly. It was fun. I enjoyed Chuck. I have been aching to do a rewatch of it at some point. So when I find time, don't know when, I plan on rewatching it, and it'll be fun. So, but I wonder though, Chuck had the benefit of social media.
Yeah.
Freaks and Geeks. Firefly didn't. Would these shows have lasted if they had social media? They were both well before the Facebook era. Facebook didn't come around until 2003. Firefly was gone.
Right.
Freaks and Geeks was long gone. Would they have survived if they had social media to help them?
Now, Jericho here is listed too.
Mm-hmm. Jericho and Deadwood were kind of like the Western shows.
Yeah, now they were, but see, now this is, I'm on a Reddit thread from like 2 years ago, and they're talking about Jericho being ruined by the strike. Now, Jericho had it wasn't one of my shows, but it had a following, a very low following that had some pushback from when the show was canceled.
Yep.
And I believe it was revived a little bit, or at least answered or something.
I think Torchwood, which not a Western, was also kind of similar. They got like 2 actual seasons, and then they had, I guess, enough fan response that they got 2 little mini-series after the fact. And
Right.
I want to say Jericho got something similar.
See now, and here's another one, Pushing Daisies. Had a loyal fan base, writer's strike happened, and it kind of killed it.
Yep.
Because
I remember
now,
that show. It was pretty decent.
now
Silly, but
The
pretty decent.
Office was hit in the middle of that writer's strike too, but The Office had such a loyal following already.
Yeah,
The
it
fans
was
hung
bringing them
around.
up. Yeah, it was well into.
It was
you know,
bringing the money.
its run.
Pushing Daisies was new.
Right.
And a lot of these shows don't really take off till the second season because they build the word of mouth buzz. Stuff starts, especially with social media, people start chatting about it
Right.
over the summer, and they're like, oh, what's going to happen? Whatever.
Or they rewatch it on,
Yeah,
streaming services or whatnot.
right.
Justin chimed in with one, and I don't know if he wants to jump on the mic or not because I didn't really watch the show that much. The Sarah Silverman Show, the comedic show that got canceled too
I
early.
forgot about that.
Justin, what happened with Sarah Silverman?
I feel like she got caught up in the writer's strike too.
Okay.
Like somewhere in like season 2 or something, and then when it came back, it just wasn't as good, and then it went away. But
All right.
the first season was hysterical. I loved that show.
That was such an interesting situation because there were like such clear lines drawn over that strike. And from a consumer point of view, like somebody put shows on TV. Like that's where we were. Like
Right.
I wanted my shows.
Right.
But like the WGA, okay, take Steve Carell, for example. This is why I remember this so distinctly. He at the time was making big money playing Michael Scott on The Office.
Right.
And he had an iconic character and was very successful. But he does so much writing and producing, and that's where his career started, that he supported the Writers Guild. He
Right.
was not an out-of-work actor. He was striking.
Right.
He had so much to do with the production and the writing on the show. And when I started to read more about it, some of the terms of the writers, some of it was like Hollywood stuff.
Right.
But they were being asked to write web series and web extras that they weren't getting reimbursed for, and that has
Right.
since changed. Now there's some stuff out there.
Yeah, good came from the writer's strike. and
Yeah,
bad
but
happened from it.
But yeah, bad happened from it too. A lot of actors were out of work.
Yeah.
They weren't, especially new actors, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a lot of back and forth from it. And South Park, I remember, did a whole big thing making fun of it and about Canada being on strike. And, they were like, we're the World Canadian Bureau, WGA. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
And it was funny because part of it was.
Part of it was.
Part
a
of it
little silly.
was, kind of throwing temper tantrum, and part of it was totally relevant. And I'm sure
Right.
there's two sides to every story.
It is.
From my point of view, I wanted my shows.
Right.
And I'm mad that Big Love suffered, and I'm mad that I lost this whole time, and the direction of my shows got lost.
Yeah. I'm disappointed Heroes got
Heroes.
humped. But again, as I said it earlier, flip side, just to kind of make me feel better about it, we got Dr. Horrible's Sing Along blog, which is probably one of the best things as far as TV is concerned. It's not even TV. It was a web series.
Now, here's something this guy points out on Reddit, that The Office went downhill after the strike, which is true.
Okay.
But the first episode back was one of the best ones of the
Because
series.
it was written beforehand?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know when it was written.
Yeah.
And now I kind of wish I'd done a little bit more research ahead of time so I could find out about it.
Didn't Jay Leno, it was one of the talk show guys that actually paid, out of his own salary, paid the writers to keep writing on his show, I think.
Was it?
Yeah. I want to say there was some talk show host that actually paid the salaries for writers and stuff so that people could keep working and he could keep producing a show. I don't remember which one it was. I'm pretty sure it was Leno, though. Because he, boatload of money.
Now, here's another one that's mentioned. The Riches with Eddie Izzard.
Remember hearing about it, never saw it.
So I love Eddie Izzard. I never got into The Riches, but the strike happened apparently after a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Now, Eddie Izzard's doing great. He's gigging, though, as a stand-up comic, and he's a great stand-up comic. And, he's an executive transvestite, so he's got that kind of shtick going for him. And,
Okay.
I'm sure that's his life. I'm not saying it's a shtick or whatever. I don't care what bathroom he uses. But, that's how he looks fabulous, and he gigs, and he's hysterical. And I saw him in Atlanta a couple years ago, and he's still out doing his thing. He's kind of getting a little social justice warrior, but, it's for a good cause. He's not getting all only eat organic, whole grain, grass-fed cucumbers, as
Right.
Teresa likes to say. So, but I never saw that show. But, yeah, the most resounding thing is, it's raining, ladies and gentlemen. The most resounding thing is definitely Heroes, which, from what I tell, I'm writing a book about a superhero, and you're
Right.
like, you have to watch Heroes. You have to watch Heroes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
No, to be fair, I said we can only we'll watch the first episode and then you can make your decision because I value your opinion as a woman.
Oh my God,
and I
you never
respect-
ever said that ever in the history of ever. Not that I.
But I did say if you
yes,
we,
you
we only
did.
watch one. I mean, because we got plenty of crap to watch.
We do. We have so much crap. To
I mean,
watch.
there's stuff that
I don't
you know
even think
we're
this
watching.
was on the list.
We haven't even started Preacher yet. That came out last
I know.
night. I might pick back
Was
up
it
The Walking
good?
Dead. You know, Game of Thrones.
We
the
even-
Thrones of Games.
We even
is
said
really
though
highly
we
rated.
We even said we're like, oh yeah, Preacher starts. We'll watch Preacher. Fucking didn't watch Preacher.
I had to pick my sister up at 3:00 in the
That's
fucking morning
true,
to
I
take her
know.
ass to the fucking airport.
Is it on Hulu? It's on AMC. Is it on Hulu? AMC, Hulu? Yes, no. No.
I'm sure we can find some torrent on it. And
find a perfectly legal.
oh, jeez, I've
Way
got
to-
homework. Wait, I didn't join this radio station to have homework.
Oh.
This is bullshit.
I'm gonna say that we already had.
Yeah, we already
Homework.
do.
Um,
Alright, fine.
You know, it.
Maybe iTunes has it for free to like help promote it. They like doing that shit.
Well, aren't you optimistic?
Yeah, I know.
So there are a lot of shows. You got any more victims? Any more early victims? We've lamented about Firefly.
I mean, Firefly's probably the biggest one for me. Studio 60 was as well. Arrested Development, yeah, they had 3 good seasons, and they're still going to get a 4th and 5th season. Luckily,
See, that's
through
the
the
thing.
internet.
The 4th season happened.
Yeah.
The 5th season, I think, is still debated because
No, Mitch Hurwitz says he wants to do it, and they've got everyone. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of coordinating
I
everything.
know, but Jessica Walters is like, I never heard anything about it. You know, she's got to be in it.
She's too busy doing Archer.
She's not too busy doing Archer.
I mean,
She did the last season, and she was great.
yeah, but what I think the problem with the 5th season of Arrested Development is they heard the complaints of everybody about season 4, which, yes, season 4 was different and it was a little disjointed and kind of confusing based off the first 3 seasons that we love. But damn if it didn't give us a good ending and round everything out and still kind of like make us eager for more Arrested Development.
Yeah.
You know, I think season 5 they heard people's were kind of confused, and the best part is people actually fell for that, like, what was it, that DVD ripper thing? I saw posts when people
they were like, oh my god, they
and I
couldn't
was
even
like,
get real.
oh my god, you guys are fucking morons.
Yeah.
But I'm sidetracking. But you know, they want to get everybody together, and I mean, because while season 4 worked and the payoff was still there in the end, they really do work really well together when they're all in the same room together. You know, it's that chemistry.
Yeah.
So, but round out a few shows here. Terra Nova was one. Flash Forward was another one. Both shows I watched. Terra Nova was pretty good, but then it got a little weird. It was tough to follow after with the signs because they basically just created an alternate parallel universe, whatever. I was trying to think what else I had. The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. He didn't get much of a chance in my opinion, but Jimmy Fallon's killing it.
Jimmy
I
Fallon
mean,
is doing really well. Here's one that's mentioned in this list that I will be interested to hear your opinion on.
Almost Human, because that was my next one.
No.
Okay.
There is this hypothesis that Saturday Night Live took a big hit after the writer's strike. And the reasoning here, now, okay, it goes up and down. The show's been on for a very long time. So there are some years that are stronger and some years that are weaker. Now, this says, after the strike came and went, Lorne Michaels had to cut the show's budget and outwent TV Funhouse. The rising popularity of the Lonely Island's digital shorts didn't help either. So there was some stuff that got cut out of SNL because of the writers' strike and the way the
Yeah. budgets
budgets had changed. But that is to say, the show could have been headed into, let's see, when was that?
In 2008
I can't even say.
Writer
who's-
strike was 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, Faye was gone, Farrell was gone.
Yeah,
I mean, the big hitters
they were
were
getting
gone.
into a lull
They were
anyway.
coming to a lull, yeah. Which I mean,
they've been in a lull for a while.
well, I mean, it's they've
When
got a
was the
few decent
last-
players right now, but I mean, Kenan Thompson at this point is the longest running standing member on SNL. That's how long. I mean, that's
When was
that's
Faye and Polar?
they left mid 2000s. I want to say they left before the strike.
Did
Didn't
they leave before the strike? I don't know.
Let's pull up. I mean,
Now
we're going long. Let's just roll.
Yeah,
with it.
I know. Well, I mean,
Hold on. Let's look up SNL members here.
the SNL goes up and down, and there's the glory days, and then there's the dead stretch, and then there's
Yeah.
like all the great stuff, and then there's another dead stretch. I kind of feel like we're in a dead stretch.
yeah. Well,
I mean, there was a pop with like Sandberg and the Lonely Island guys and
Right.
Justin Timberlake with his dick in a box like that popped up for a while.
Faye was 06.
Faye was 06.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. But I mean, you've had let's see, Abby Elliott came on in 2008, only lasted 4 seasons. Trying to see who was there during, because the writer's strike was around 2008, because Heroes had 1.5, almost 2 seasons at this point, and they started in 2006. So, let's see, anyone else that really, Bill Hader actually made it through. I mean, he was 2005 to 2013. I appreciate Bill Hader.
Yeah, Bill Hader's good.
He's good. I think right now, I mean, they've been in a lull for probably, I'd say 8 to 10 years.
Well, they're due then.
I mean, yes, and they are starting to come back. They've had some good stuff lately.
Yeah, they have had some good
Granted,
stuff.
some of the good stuff was
now
also
it
when
doesn't
Dana
help.
Carvey.
Well, it doesn't hurt that the election is basically serving them up comedy.
Well, yeah, you can't go wrong with
They're
that
always
stuff.
good with that topical stuff.
Yeah.
You want to take a break?
Sure, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk. What movie trailer are we talking about?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I might have a few words to talk about on that.
Oh, imagine that.
And that was Death Valley Rally with their song Come On. Those guys are out of Norfolk, and you guys can find them on iTunes and Bandcamp. Death Valley Rally.
But the bummer is, everything I liked in this trailer, I already knew I liked. Everything I didn't like, I already knew I didn't like.
Well, good for you, you're wrong.
And we are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
And I'm sure at some point we'll talk about it on Popped again, but I mean, it's only fair that we discuss the on our last show, one of the movies I was dreading it. The most recent trailer's starting to sway me a bit.
Okay, for some background for readers, listeners, watchers, I don't know, whatever.
Oh yeah, we're Facebook. Are we Facebook living? I don't know.
No,
okay.
we're not. Oh, technology.
We really have a technology problem around
Speaking
here.
of technology, let's talk about these gigantic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who are all like CGI and crazy.
6-foot motherfuckers.
So
silverback gorillas.
I did not see the first Michael Bay Turtles.
We can watch it. I spent
You
6.
sound super pumped about it.
God, it's so like I think that's part of my problem with this second movie is that my hate for the first movie is pretty bad. It makes no sense. Again, we can get on a whole diatribe on that one.
I was not nuts about the casting for April, and I've got to tell you, April is the reason I became a journalist.
And now she's showing her belly in the second movie, just like most journalists. Yeah, no, they don't do
She's
that.
showing her what?
Her belly. She's doing the little tied up shirt
no,
shit.
well,
I mean, that's what journalists
there
do,
are
right?
Some that do, and they're not well respected. And I've got words about that, but that's for another show.
But see, this is going to surprise you. Just to tie into your casting note, Megan Fox was actually one of the better parts of the first Turtles movie.
I believe it. I believe it. But, okay, so let's talk about the initial complaints about the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
We don't have enough time.
Okay, well, give me the Cliff's Notes. Give me the top 5 terrible things about the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh God. Top 5 things. All right, let's see here. The giant ass size of the turtles.
Giant ass turtles. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
The fact that the story focused on April, not the turtles.
Okay.
Let's see. The fact that the turtles weren't very stealthy in the first place.
Well, they're huge.
But then that's the point. They're ninjas. They aren't supposed to be 6 fucking feet tall.
Well, okay, but are turtles supposed to be ninjas in the first place?
Okay, yes. I do realize we're supposed to suspend some
now
disbelief.
let's get to the background of these guys.
Hold on. I've still got 2 more
All right,
here.
Okay, 2 more.
There
2
was
more.
no conflict. There was no reason for the conflict between the turtles and Shredder.
Okay.
He was just a villain. They have to stop him. That's it. Like, in the comics, there was at least Splinter had some, like, death oath. He needs to kill the Shredder because Shredder killed his master. All right? Now
death
Splinter learns karate from a picture book thrown down the sewers. And now they're going to fight a white guy in Shredder armor. That is the whole crux of the movie. Oh, and out in broad daylight. I think I've already mentioned the stealthy thing. But yeah, the final battle scene's on top of a building. In the middle of fucking New York.
So that's 5. Is
Yeah.
that 5? Okay. that's your
Well,
five.
I think I double dipped on the stealthy thing, but yeah.
Now, I will say, overall, now, okay, we know that the new Ghostbusters trailer is the lowest rated or the most downvoted or whatever YouTube video in the history of
Right.
trailers or whatever. Judging,
Whole other show.
Now, judging this, the second trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's got over 6 million views, and it's 9,500 likes and only about 900 dislikes.
Yep.
That's pretty good. Now, I'm going to say I'm a little surprised at sort of the positive reaction that's coming to this, because you'd think that it would just be like raining haterade.
There's a reason.
Okay, give it to me.
We're getting cartoon favorites. People are obsessed with the 80s cartoon, and for some decent reason. It's good nostalgia. But they're stoked to be getting Rocksteady and Bebop, Krang. And, you know, I am too. I mean, we get to see a movie version of them out there. But there are so many other characters that are just really well done in the Turtles universe that most people don't know of. So it really, from a marketing perspective, it wouldn't make sense to throw them in there, and I get that. So I kind of hope they do a little bit of a, it's going to sound ridiculous, but a little bit more mature version of Bebop and Rocksteady, not the cartoon dimwits that we got in the 80s. Because if you go back and watch it, they were really pointless villains. They really were. They weren't as great as everyone remembers them. Neither is the 80s cartoon, for that fact.
I don't
It's not watchable.
really.
Despite having the entire series on DVD,
'Cause-
it's going to be a chore to rewatch
Because
them.
I watch the current cartoon, and I with you when
Yeah,
it's on. I
right.
mean, you know, it's on, and I'm like,
Right.
well, I don't
Well,
know.
because
I like it.
no, and I do too. I like the new cartoon. I like the 2003 cartoon. But I think those, and this might just be because we're older now, but they're serialized. There's an overreaching arc across the 2003 and the 2012 series.
Yeah.
The 1980s cartoon, there's no arc. It's just one shots. I mean, you could pick up an episode, watch it, pick up another episode, and you'd be fine. You know, the best part of the 80s cartoon, in my opinion, was probably the first season, which was just a little mini series of 5 episodes, introduced everybody, and it was really good. It was a serialized arc. It was great. You know, we'll see what happens with this one. It can't be any worse than the first movie, so I think it's going to be better than that.
Well, yeah,
but they've got to shoehorn a lot of story points in there because the first movie suffered because they had Will Fichtner, whatever his name is, be Shredder, but fans flipped their shit about that, and they wrote in this generic. They reshot and they wrote in some generic Asian guy standing in the shadows who said, "Tonight I dine on turtle soup" in Japanese. And that was it as far as the Shredder connection goes. So I'm kind of hoping they flesh out the stuff in the second movie. Because now there's an actual Asian guy cast.
Well, that's good.
He's not just some shadowy figure.
Not some shadowy figure. I mean, I'm going to say that people are excited about Casey Jones. They're saying this looks like it'll be pretty good. They're excited about Will Arnett. And
Will Arnett is great, but he's basically just Job.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of him. Although I do want to see his new series on Netflix.
Justin's watched it, right?
Yeah, I heard
Justin loves it.
I heard Flaked was pretty good.
Yes, Flaked is really good.
Is it?
Okay.
Really good.
Does Will Arnett just play Job, or does he actually?
Does he? My guess is he plays Job after,
Like
as he realized what he's
depressive
done. He's
Job.
realized what he's done, Job.
It's very close. It's like a cross between BoJack and Job. Like
Yeah.
he's a very broken guy.
Okay.
And he plays it really, really well.
Okay, I can see that. But, you know, Job does, I mean, Will Arnett's good. I actually like the casting for Casey Jones. The disappointing part in the trailer, it looks like he's able to take on foot ninjas, and this is, you know, he kind of does in the first movie, the first Turtles movie, so I guess I can't say too much. But again, they're focusing on that April O'Neil angle instead of Casey Jones always meets Raphael first. In every, well, maybe not the 80s cartoon, but in almost every incarnation that I can think of, Casey Jones meets Raphael first because they're the two hotheads. You know, Casey Jones is about to go too far. Raphael stops him, and you know that's the kind of bromance that develops between Raphael and Casey Jones.
Well, speaking of fan favorites,
Hashtag not my Casey Jones.
Aw. Well, now the point is made here by Edward Zverenkovos that Turtle Van, Krang, Bebop and Rocksteady, Real Human Shredder, and Real Foot Ninjas and Casey Jones fan service. Do you think that was a natural progression, or do you think they learned from the first movie? Because I mean,
I think the Shredder as an actual guy, and if the Foot Ninjas are actually ninjas, I don't know if they are yet. Yes, that's them trying to rectify their mistakes of the first movie.
right.
Krang, Bebop, Rocksteady, Casey Jones, probably already planned before the first movie was even done. I think the first movie was just like, okay, let's create the universe, let's do the Shredder Turtles thing, and then let's throw in everything in the kitchen sink. I'm curious to see how they do it. I'm gonna go see it. I'm not gonna go spending primetime movie money doing it. I will see it Sunday matinee-ish for like $6 at Military Circle and risk my life.
Now speaking of risking your life, there is a lot of buzz too about the WWE guy being cast, Sheamus.
Yeah, he's playing Rocksteady.
Yeah, he's playing Rocksteady, and that has its own fan base because I recently had a conversation with a former professional wrestler. It was kind of a weird situation where we got into a long discussion about how wrestling fans, and Matt and I had this conversation too. Wrestling fans are super loyal.
Yeah.
And, in ways that other fans aren't. And doping doesn't matter, and cheating doesn't matter, and the whole thing is fake, and it doesn't matter. And you gotta wonder, like all the ridiculous stuff that Hulk Hogan did, and leaking sex tapes. Yeah, well, not that. That was the best part of his career when you think about it. But like sex tapes and reality shows or whatever, he still got all these fans.
Yeah.
So you got to think.
Ric Flair.
Right, and you got to think these people who are following Sheamus into this movie are seeing it for him, and they're gonna love it because it's him.
Fun fact: he's not the first wrestler to star in the Turtles franchise.
Oh, give it to me.
Kevin Nash, Super Shredder Turtles 2.
This is why we're dating, because you come up with sexy facts like that.
It's what I do. It's my thing.
He's going home with me, ladies. Back off.
Well, I mean, I think he'll be fine in it. You saying that this is going to sidetrack us, so I apologize. But the Turtles wanting to be human.
That was weird. That was the first trailer thing.
And again, this is arguing semantics about Ninja Turtles that do ninjutsu. The ooze does not transform you back if it's going to transform you into a mutant. Plus, they were turtles to start with. Why do they want to become human in the first place?
I mean,
it's not like Hamato Yoshi got turned into Splinter. He was a rat that got turned into Splinter this time around. They stuck with the comic incarnation, if I remember correctly. So they have no desire to be human. Why would they want to be human other than wanting to be part of the rest of the world and whatever? But that's never been their desire.
Well,
ever.
I don't know. I guess
Michelangelo's been the only one who's really wanted to interact with people and have a common connection with them.
They have such a connection to, at least while we were growing up, the Turtles while we were growing up have such a connection to the culture of the time with the lingo and the the trends and
I'll agree with that.
The pizza, like that. I mean, they obviously are interested at least.
Yeah.
They
are. And even the creators had the original idea. After the third movie, they wanted to do a fourth movie where their mutations kind of evolved, and Michelangelo's further evolution was he looked a bit more human. So he's kind of got that now with that weird face he's got in these Michael Bay movies, but he of the four have always wanted to be it. And Raphael did say, hey, we're turtles. We're not supposed to be humans. So we'll get some conflict there, but it'll be the classic Leo Raph conflict that we've gotten. Best Leo Raph conflict, though, was in the fourth Turtles movie, that CGI movie. Probably one of the best fight scenes we've got.
Justin agrees with you. He's nodding vigorously.
It was really good. Like, I almost choked up.
Now, here's a question. Does the CGI thing make them better? Now, gratuitous size aside, does CGI make them better because technology is finally caught up, or was it better when there are these weird foamy puppet things? Now, I know that you're partial to Henson.
I'm partial to Henson, and I am partial to practical effects. So it's tough for me to say yes, the CGI is better or it's not better. I do, size aside, I do like the design. They are a little more pieced together, like, hey, we found this stuff in a junkyard, so let's add this to our, and they've kind of they have their own unique styles too, which is very nice. And CGI, they're allowed to do that a little more than they are with the old animatronic foam suits. And it's better for the actors too. I mean, these guys were wringing out the old puppet suits. I mean, they couldn't move, they couldn't see. I mean, it was hell for the actors.
Yeah,
love them for it because it gave us really realistic stuff. And it does provide for the other actors and actresses to interact with the turtles better. you're never gonna have real actors and actresses interacting with CGI as well as you will practical effects. Ghostbusters, Turtles, two big ones. And and you're always going to have that. I mean, CGI is cheaper
things take
and easier
up space
to do.
in a room. I mean, even we were watching it with Deadpool special features, this CGI, and they had some deleted scenes that they just didn't finish because they knew they weren't making them in the movie, so they didn't spend the money to do the effects.
Correct.
And it's different.
Yeah.
It's different when you're dealing with what's this big metal dude, Colossus.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with Colossus versus you're dealing with like dude man who plays Colossus is like an advertised human. And then
I mean, he's an advertised human with a stick and a tennis ball on his head.
Yeah,
so they have a focal point.
Right. So, okay, we're out of time. It'll be great. It'll be great. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
The most recent trailer has convinced me a little bit more.
The second trailers have been better than the first ones, in my opinion. I like
Ghostbusters can go to hell.
I like the second Ghostbusters trailer.
It's
I know
a rehab.
I know
They did that in the first movie. They did that.
I
They said
know.
mass hysteria in the trailer. Could they be any more of a ripoff of the
trying
movie?
to fillet the fans a little bit. You've got to give it to them a little bit.
I'd rather see Turtles 2 than Ghostbusters female reboot.
Well, we're seeing both of them.
I know.
All right. So today is May 23rd, 2016. It is our last Shower Thoughts, but I will be on Popped starting in June.
Yes.
I will be joining the show that starts at 8 p.m. on Radio Free Radio, radiofradio.com.
On June 8th.
On June 8th. Today is May 23rd, 2016. It is National Taffy Day.
Okay.
And National Lucky Penny Day.
All right. Those are good days.
That's a good day. I know. I'm feeling lucky. So the Good Morning You Drunks guys are coming in.
Yep. And if you guys like what you guys have been hearing, not only our last show, but, Good Morning You Drunks, Popped, Deprogrammed, Ron to the Hills, all the programs on Radio Free Radio.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to Chocolate Milk and Waffles. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
local arts in the
yeah,
community.
it's great.
It's good stuff. It's local. It's stuff you guys can call in and interact with. I mean, because this isn't just us sitting here in our glorious studio on mics.
It is.
Well, it is that.
But
it's
we
fun.
genuinely want to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, we want you guys to call in. I mean, Alexis and Teresa have been great on this show. So thank you two for chiming in when you have on Shower Thoughts. Hopefully you guys
and
will
please
stick
listen
over.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, check in on Popped.
I can't do it
it's
without
basically
you.
It's basically going to be the same crap, but just, a little more duty. Duty. I was, dude-ish.
Yeah, no, we got you're fine.
It's going to be a little more comic-y based, but I mean, we're still going to hit on the movies. We're still going to hit on the stuff.
And don't worry, if you don't know what they're talking about, I'll stop them.
Yeah, well, that's why you're going to be there.
But Patreon.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Patreon.com/Radio Free Radio. See, I was getting there eventually. This is why we need 2 hours, because we're already running over to Good Morning You Drunks. Patreon.com/Radio Free Radio. $1 will get you all of the Shower Thoughts archives. So if you're missing us and you just want to hear the two of us talk for whatever reason, you can listen to the archives. They'll be there. You'll get all the shows and listen live. You guys probably already are now, but listen live. RadioFradio.com. Download the app for the iPhone or the Android, or whatever. So listen
stay
in.
tuned to Good Morning You Drunks.
Yep.
It is coming up next, and join us on June 6th.
8th.
June 8th.
I think.
The next Tuesday, not the following Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
Not the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
The first Tuesday in June.
Nope. The second Tuesday in June.
The second Tuesday in June. I will be on, and we will be
June
starting.
7th. There we go.
June 7th. Yay, we finally got there. We are starting 2-hour Popped with a chick, y'all.
Boobs.
We're excited. I know. There's a whole female in here, you guys. She's going to be on Popped. Buckle.
Phrasing.
Buckle. Oh, God. This is why this is never going to work. But I'll be there anyway. It's going to be great. All right. Good Morning You Drunks is next. Stay tuned.
Later.
Tell me, you didn't pay money for this.